Hey everybody, in this video I'm going to be going over strategies you can use to beat Humankind on the hardest difficulty. Before I get into a step-by-step guide on how to beat the game on the hardest difficulty, I'm going to start with 3 basic tips that you should use to kind of guide your overall turn-by-turn decisions in this game. So first of all, you should always have as many cities as possible. This usually means having one extra city over your city capacity. That only hurts you by reducing the influence you gain per turn by 10, so it's always worth having one extra city over your city cap. The more cities you have, the more you'll produce, the more stars you'll get, the faster you'll win. So my next tip is to stay in each era for a long time. The AI is not good at gaining a lot of score in each era. They quickly try to progress from one era to the next, which means that if you take your time and gain as many points as possible in each era, you will catch up to them very quickly. You know, by era 4 or 5, you'll probably have as many points as AIs have when they're in era 6, which just gives you even more time to collect points above them and secure your victory. My third tip is that it is really feasible to be the first player to the New World, which in a normal game spawn is this uninhabited continent where there's a ton of resources, no empires are there at the start, there's just some independent cities. So if you can be the first one there, you will basically get a whole continent to yourself, you can build 5 cities there with plenty of territory to spare, you'll get an insane amount of luxury resources that will just double the food or science production you're getting, and that is the key component to setting yourself up to win in the next half of the game. So, now let's go into the era-by-era guide I have to help you beat the game on the hardest difficulty. So, in era 0 to 1, which is the Neolithic era at the start of the game, your goal is to rapidly settle about 5 territories. One way to help you do that is to use auto-explore. Right now, in the game as it is, auto-explore lets your units automatically find food and science pickups on the ground, so you get a huge amount of efficiency by using that early game. You don't need to wander around wasting turns looking for food. This is probably an unintentional feature of the game, and I expect it to be removed sometime soon. So I personally didn't use this trick or exploit when I was testing this strategy, but if you want that little extra oomph in your the first era of the game, then feel free to try it out. If you're having any trouble settling 5 territories, try researching sailing and trade expeditions, which will let you send out units to scout the islands right off your coast and collect at least 5 territories. Sailing unlocks the Pentakir, which lets you easily scout the coast for those islands, and then trade expeditions lets your units embark, so you can actually place outposts on those islands and claim them. The islands won't be the best locations for cities because there isn't much land there, but if you need extra cities, it's better than nothing. So it's pretty inevitable that you're going to get attacked in this early stage of the game. It's pretty hard to create an army that can compete against one of these early AI armies, so my suggestion is to not really invest in military, and when you're attacked, immediately surrender and become a vassal. The reason you want to immediately surrender is that it means you won't waste any turns having your cities under siege and not producing, and it also means that they have less net war support at the end of the war, to give them gifts and rewards from defeating you. So if you get attacked, you see their army, you see it's way bigger than anything you could fight against, immediately go to the screen, surrender, check off becoming a vassal, and you will become their vassal. In the early stages of the game, being a vassal is totally okay. You'll lose about 10% of your gold income and it'll be sent to your liege, but besides that, you won't see many significant consequences, besides not being able to trade. It definitely sucks to become a vassal, but at this stage in the game, it's way better than losing a bunch of territories, cities, and turns building units. So, in Era 2, your goal is to get 5 cities. That's it. You can do this by researching the philosophy and foreign outpost techs, which will bring your city cap to 4, which, as we have previously talked about, means you can have 5 cities without much of a penalty. If you don't have that much territory, you still just want to have 5 cities, even if it's 1 city per territory. Just detach territories and turn them into cities wherever you can, however you can. More cities means more economy. When you're in this era building up your 5 cities, again, make sure to go slow and get those extra stars. I left this era with 10 stars, and that seemed to be pretty well paced, so I would recommend doing the same thing. Stay for those 3 extra stars, because that can be, upwards of 500 extra points that you can use to get ahead of the AI. In Era 3, your goal is to be the first player to the New World. There are 2 specific ways you can do this in Era 3. Normally, you can only cross the ocean in Era 4, but there's going to be a trick we use to be able to get there early to beat the AI. So in order to cross the ocean early, we have to pick one of a few specific cultures when you enter Era 3. You can either pick the Vikings, because they can cross deep ocean in their ships and their units can go farther, or pick a culture with a research affinity, because that'll let you research tech in one era ahead, and the tech to cross the ocean is in Era 4. In order to settle the New World, you first have to find it. Make sure to research foreign outpost technology in Era 2, build Quadriremes, and try to make them cross the ocean without dying. Once you find the New World, start going up and down the coast, and picking out places for your troops to land to start colonizing the New World. So once you know where the New World is, you're going to need to be able to get troops across the ocean to actually claim it with outposts. This is a little trickier, since normal transport ships earlier in the game can't cross the ocean at all. This is where the culture we picked comes in. If you're playing as the Vikings, your units automatically have more movement speed, which may mean that right off the bat, they will have enough movement speed to jump across islands and reach the New World. If the New World is too far away to just brute force cross it, then you're going to need to slow down and research the technology that unlocks the special Viking Ship, which lets your units cross the ocean without any penalty whatsoever. If you didn't go with the Vikings and you went with the research civ, then your goal is to unlock the tech Three-Masted Ships. This is just another way of letting your units cross the ocean without any penalty whatsoever. Makes it really easy. So now that you have all the tech and setup you need to send troops over to the New World, now you need to amass an army and actually conquer it. I say conquer because there's a lot of free peoples over in the New World, and they have a large amount of medieval units, lots of pikemen, crossbowmen, and knights, which at your stage in the game, in Era 3, will be kind of tricky to conquer. I recommend building an army of around 8 medieval strength or higher units, as in 8 30 strength or more units. That will probably help you conquer 1 or 2 cities to get a quick foothold in the new region and expand from there. When you land with your troops, run around putting outposts everywhere, conquering free cities, and most importantly, prioritize building resource collectors on all these new resources you're gathering. Luxury resources are super powerful and they'll buff all of your cities really quickly. On a side note, if you're enjoying this guide so far, leave a like and subscribe. It's the absolute best way to support this channel and see more videos like this. Now that we have the New World settled, we're on to the last leg of our strategy to beat the game on the hardest difficulty. Basically, our goal here is to boom our economy now that we have a whole new continent to ourselves, and outscale the AI by getting a lot of stars in every era from now on. With the New World settled, you should be able to have at least 10 great cities in your empire, and this will really help you win. Now that your economy is booming, you should especially take time to get as many stars as possible. With 10 cities, it should be really easy to get the agrarian stars for population, the builder stars for districts, and probably the science stars too. At this point on, I got at least 16 stars in each era, which helped me end with an insanely high score and quickly outpass the AI by Era 5. One major way we're going to scale our economy is by building manufactories. There's a technology in Era 4 called Patronage, which unlocks a new resource extractor called manufactories. You can only build them if you possess half or more of that kind of resource in the world. So you can only build a manufactory on salt if you own or are trading for at least half the salt in the world. But once you build that manufactory, you will basically double or triple the value of having salt in your empire. All of the manufactory bonuses are like plus 10 to 30% more of some resource, food, production, gold. And it'll be a huge way that your cities gain insane amounts of resources. But note that only one manufactory of each type can be built in the world, so you're racing with the AI to build your manufactories first. So that's why I'm emphasizing research patronage, build manufactories as quickly as possible. Now that you're gaining an insane amount of stars and insane amount of score, passing the AI should only be a matter of time. Once you get a bit ahead of the AI, you can set any goals you want for the rest of the game. Do you want to go into the final era and build a spaceship? Do you want to conquer the world, paint the whole world your color? Or do you just want to go for as much score as possible? There's a bunch of ways to end this game and to win at this game, which I really enjoy. So at this point, it's all up to you. So, I hope you found this guide helpful for beating the game on the hardest difficulty, and if you have any questions or problems, just reach out in the comments, and I'll try to get back to you as quickly as possible. In the meantime, have a good one.